Celebrating 4 years of talk like you've never heard it before, this is GABNET, the Great American Broadcast Network. Connect to life.
We do have several listeners online tonight who are either dealing with parents who have Alzheimer's or who have dealt with that and are now past the final stage.
Connect to love.
Hey, Dad, that was so creepy that you told Melissa that you had sex in 8 years.
Creepy. I don't know what's
and
wrong
you should,
with
it was
my
like
life.
deer in the headlights. Boink. Like,
Oh, my God. No wonder he didn't show up to the parade afterwards. He was embarrassed.
Connect to happiness.
bumping and bumping, Linda.
Dude, you
Holy
really were.
cow.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just have to do that.
Yes.
There we
To
go.
blow it out sometimes.
Yeah. Like a Brazilian blowout was the Cuban blowout going on over there. That's going to put it out there for you people.
Connect with Connections, a nightly feature of GABNET. Join hosts Melissa Fox, Linda Nunez, Porn Star Pete, abetted by Lizzie Say What, and Mr. Punchline as they engage in a lively 2-hour romp that is bound to keep you happy and, yes, connected. Each show tackles a lifestyle or relationship topic relevant to people interested in improving themselves, dealing with the ups and downs of life, and those interested in spicing up their relationships. The gang, along with special guest hosts, share stories and connect the topics with humor to current events in entertainment, politics, culture, and even sports. So get connected, Mondays at 10 p.m. Eastern and Tuesday through Friday at 1 a.m. It's Connections, here on GABNET. Talk like you've never heard it before.
Hey everybody, this is Alex Bennett, host of the Ramble, heard here and seen here on GABNET, Tuesday through Fridays, live at 10 p.m. Eastern Time, and I got some big news for you. Our program has moved its live video from Facebook Live to YouTube Live. After extensive tests in our GABNET laboratories of at least 10 minutes, our mind was made up and we've come to the conclusion that YouTube is superior not only in video quality, but audio as well. And then there's the ease of watching it. Here's what you do. Simply point your browser to youtube.com/Bolo Bennett /live. That's youtube.com/Bolo Bennett, BOLOBENNETT /live. And you're there. The player is waiting, and you do nothing, and when the show begins, so does the player. Couldn't be simpler. In fact, tag that page as a permanent tab on your browser, and you're ready to go. And if all of this is too vexing for you, well, just go to gabnet.net near showtime, and the player in the middle of the page will start to play when we're on. We're thrilled with the new quality our move has provided, and while you're there, would you do me a favor and please subscribe to our channel? No, I beg you to. Hey, listen to me, I'm groveling, okay? I know, it's pathetic. I'm sorry, I'm debasing myself, and I really shouldn't be. Please.
Reasons why you tune into GABNET. Here's reason number 9. Great celebrity guests.
So how many years is this now with Teller?
43, and that's 43 continuous. You can try to say Keith Richards and Mick Jagger go longer, but they take 3, 4, 5 years off. You know, even when they're together, they take the time off. Continuous, no more than 2 weeks working apart, I think.
Wow. And
Like being waterboarded for 43 years.
GABNET. Reasons to listen every day. Log on to gabnet.net for more. GABNET. It's talk like you've never heard it before. Celebrating 4 years of talk like you've never heard it before. This is GABNET, the Great American Broadcast Network.
Hey everybody, how are you? It's Alex Bennett, and yes it is, as always, the Ramble, which goes from now until midnight Eastern Daylight Time. And we will be getting to our citizens panel in just a bit. Let me just say something before we go into the first segment on the show tonight, and that is that this interview was recorded earlier today. Yes, I know I'm wearing the same shirt. I try to wear the same clothing. It was recorded earlier today, before all the big news broke towards the end of the day. That's what the problem is with pre-recording some interviews. And because this person and I like to talk about things political, that would have been something for us to talk about. But you won't hear us talk about it because it was recorded about 4 hours before all the news broke. So let's go now out to California and join just a old... wait a minute, hold on a second. I got to get the right thing. An old friend of ours. Well, look who we have here. Oh, I love seeing that wizened face. I use that term because you use it. The wizened face of
wizened and sagacious.
Well, as you've gotten older, you get to actually because of the kind of comedy you do, you look more authoritative. You look professorial.
Yeah, but I've always looked like I was 50. Even when I was 18, I looked like I was 50.
I got pictures of you where you're a punk.
I bet you do.
Yeah. I got pictures of you. I got the goods on you, my man. So how big is your scrapbook? How big is my scrapbook?
Yeah.
What do you mean? Of all my stuff?
Of all the stuff, all the radio stations.
Well, but my scrapbook. There was a scrapbook at one time that my ex-wife Ronnie kept when I was here in New York. But then as time went on, I just kind of like threw stuff in the corner, and then now it's in a storage locker somewhere up in Petaluma, up near Petaluma, in Santa Rosa. And most of my other stuff that I need and for the archives, it's all on the computer now. I don't, scrapbook. What age are you from, scrapbook?
Yeah, but I still pull clippings from papers.
Yeah.
But I haven't ordered them ever.
Yeah.
I just throw them into one of those plastic bins. And it's just publicity.
You know what I find is happening, and thank God for my fans. Okay, they every now and then will send me something. Here's a picture from you at so and so, and here's an article, and here's a tape of you at WMCA in New York with the Grateful Dead and stuff like that. So I don't really. A lot of this stuff is starting to come to me, and I thank people for collecting it. So a lot of those things which would have been lost to the ages. I mean, there are things lost to the ages, but there are some things that aren't because kids were sitting at home in New York every night recording my show on their little quarter-inch tape, going at 3 7/8 per second, or maybe even less than that. 3 1/4. Excuse me. It was 1 7/8 is the other speed.
Do you have the John Lennon session?
Oh yeah, but I have that. I had that digitized years ago. So that it, yeah.
And is it up on your website?
You can go to my Roku channel, and it's there. So,
oh wow.
Yeah. So, yeah. So I mean, and I put up shows here on the weekend where we run all the shows from Gabnet, but then I run a couple of my old shows from like Live 105 and so on. You've been on quite a few times with people, as a young, unwizened boy.
Man, I remember coming down to that show.
Yeah.
I remember you had this ceramic ashtray that was about...
Oh, yeah, when I smoked? Yeah.
And it was in the middle, and everybody would smoke and put their cigarettes out, because you always had 3 comics on. And this was when you were still smoking at the original...
Well, I was at the Quake.
On 10th Street.
On the Quake. No, yeah. I didn't smoke at Live 105. I quit at the Quake.
Yeah. And I remember Stephen King came in, and I had 7 paperbacks that I brought in with me so that he would sign them.
Yeah.
I remember when they came through, when Wes Anderson came through with Bottle Rocket, and you had the two brothers, the Wilson
the
brothers.
Wilson brothers. Yeah. Owen.
Yeah.
And
You had the Wilson brothers on.
Yeah.
Then I remember one time, Kiefer Sutherland came through.
Did he really? I don't even remember that.
Yeah. He came in and he gave me some BS about, because he and I were bantering back and forth. I love you, man. I want to use you in my next flick. And, I remember that. Who else? It was another band at the Quake, and I can't remember. Yeah, but it was just, you never knew what was going to happen. And then who was your booker? Was it Lori?
But no, at that time it was Christy was there.
Christy, and then Stephanie.
No, Stephanie came at was at Live 105. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, no, it was Stephanie. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
you would
but,
call up and.
But I'll tell you, it's all a blur to me.
I know.
It's like this, like suddenly we took all these people that were on the show, and then we put them on the canvas and just made a big smudgy painting out of it, And when people say to me, like, I'm talking to Lewis Black, and Lewis says, I was on your show several times in San Francisco. You were? You were? He said, you probably didn't remember me because I wasn't very good back then. But yeah, he was on, They're all, a lot of people came through. A lot of people had to tell me they were on the show.
Well, because
there were so many coming through too.
Well, when you're in the middle of it, nobody really thinks to stop and write it all down and reflect on it, because it's all about propulsion. You just keep moving forward.
It was a vortex, of sorts. And when you're in the middle of that vortex, you don't see everything that's going on around you. You don't even appreciate it, really.
No.
No. And sometimes when I think of some of the people we had on the shows, it's just people are even when I mention that I've interviewed that person. Like I'm sitting with my wife saying, "Oh, I interviewed him." It's amazing to me that they're amazed by it. But it just went by like a big blur.
Yeah.
And then it was all over. And then I adopted the phrase, "I used to be a big shot." That's the last line in the Roaring Twenties. As Jimmy Cagney is dying on the steps of St. Patrick's Cathedral in the arms of his girlfriend. I think maybe it was Ann Sheridan, maybe not. I can't remember. And a cop comes over, I think played by Ward Bond, and looks down at them and said, "Who is he?" And she says his name, whatever it was. And then he says, "What does he do?" She said, "He used to be a big shot." And as soon as I heard that, I said, "That's me. I used to be a big shot." And if you go to my Facebook page, that's my slogan.
I used to be a big shot.
Yeah. So, but those were great days. But now, these are trying times that we're living.
Well, the fact that America has it's been such a seismic shift, and it's almost like we're in an altered parallel universe,
Yeah.
with presidency. I mean, this is like a fictional presidency. This is like, it's a book, a bad book, because it has no resolution. It just keeps,
Yeah.
And, yeah.
Yeah. And it somebody said to Giuliani, I think in some interview, I can't remember who said it, but it was very smart of him to say it to Giuliani. If your client isn't guilty, why as lawyers are you acting like he is? Because everything they do is like they're defending somebody who's guilty.
Yeah.
Yeah,
their truth isn't truth. Did you see the Meet the Press? Where
I love the way what's better is Chuck Todd's reaction.
Yeah.
It was just you never see this from anybody who's anchoring a show. His hands just went into his head, and he just did this. Oh my God! Look, and even what's his name, Giuliani, who was in Washington or something like that, saw it, because he went, "What's with this?"
Yeah,
You know.
don't do this to me.
Yeah,
Don't do this.
yeah, don't do this to me. I mean,
But he said it's going to be a bad meme. You know, I mean, when they go to truth isn't truth, you know, like it depends on what the definition of is.
Yeah.
I mean, we remember that. That was 1998.
That's not it. What that it all depends on what the definition of is not as bad as the truth isn't true or whatever he said.
The truth is not the truth. Yeah.
It's not the truth. Yeah. Well, then what is it? It's just.
He did have a point, though.
What?
He did have a point because he said if Comey says that he did ask for loyalty and to lay off, and Trump says he didn't ask, I mean, what's true? And then and then Todd said, well, wouldn't you go back to a person's, you know, track record of veracity? And James Comey is like this pillar of sanctimonious self-righteousness, and Trump is this facile, greasy pole that will do anything. and then Giuliani said, well, I don't know.
Giuliani's just amazing. Just amazing. Somebody said, boy, he's gotten terrible. I said he always was. You know, it was just that one brief moment where he was the mayor of New York when those jets hit the building, and he got on the TV and tried to calm people down. I have to admit, he had a moment of glory in that. However, the fact that he put the emergency services for the city of New York in World Trade Center 7 and stored gasoline in there and oil when they told him you should put it out in Brooklyn somewhere where it would survive an attack on Manhattan, then he was wrong. You know.
Is that true?
Yes, it's true.
He filled 7 with oil
and gasoline, yeah, for emergency purposes. All that should have been out in Brooklyn, because if somebody were going to attack New York, they wouldn't say, hey, let's get Brooklyn, you know. They'd say, hey, you hit Manhattan, right?
So did that contribute to...
Oh, World Trade 7 went completely. It blew up. I mean, it just burned to the ground. You forget about World Trade 7. There were the 2 big World Trade Center buildings, and then there was World Trade Center 7, and that was right next to them, and it went too. So you had no emergency services for the city of New York during that crisis. Yeah, he's wonderful. He's terrific. And Trump, the businessman, John Oliver did a whole bit about how just fucked up he is when it comes to business. I mean, he's got it all wrong. He doesn't know the difference between deficit and debt. You know, he's that bad. You know.
Well, also, I mean, how do you bankrupt casinos? It's a money machine. It's a perpetual money machine.
I don't think
he could have had a 24-hour perpetual money machine.
Well,
but how do you bankrupt casinos?
Well,
also,
when
Aretha Franklin died, did you hear what he said?
No.
She used to work for me.
Oh, God.
She used to work for me.
She used to work for me. Where? Like maybe in a casino or something?
Yeah, in Atlantic City.
She used to work for me.
Yeah.
No, you were paying her.
It's all about him.
Yeah. She used to work for me. Oh, that's great. Did you know her? You know, he's an asshole. Jesus, Ian. No, but I have this guy named Phil on the show. He's a right-winger all the time, and he makes the excuse, oh, no, he's really a very good businessman. And I'm saying, come on. He wasn't even thought of as a good businessman when he was a businessman in New York. It's just that he projected this image of Mr. Monopoly so that he could then put his name on buildings, and he sold that name to put them on buildings. Some of those buildings he didn't build, you know. And,
all he did was license.
Well, what he did is he realized he couldn't make money as Trump the entrepreneur, so he made it by creating an image of himself and then selling that image as a little cottage industry. And that's what he did. So if you wanted Trump on your building, give me $1 million, you got the name to put Trump on your building. But come on, he was a lightweight. People laughed at him, you know.
Well, they still do.
They still do, but
Now they're laughing internationally.
Well, it's not funny because we have a petulant child who doesn't like people to make fun of him. You know, I mean, you'd be number one on the enemies list. You're a comedian talking about him.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm gonna have my security clearance revoked.
You know, if this were a science fiction movie, and I could go back to any period in time, it would be the Correspondents' Dinner with Obama and Donald Trump
And Seth Meyer.
And Seth Meyer, and I would whisper in Obama's ear, "Do not make a joke about Trump. Do not even talk about him. Don't give him a jibe or anything, because it's going to come back to haunt all of us." And that's exactly what happened. You know, it came back
Seth
to haunt
Meyer
all of us.
was pretty brutal too.
Huh?
Seth Meyer
Yeah.
was pretty brutal.
Yeah,
he told some good jokes, but it was Obama, I think, that got him.
But
He said, you know, he could be president. He can, you know, he's already showed experience in negotiating a separate peace between Meatloaf and Gary Busey.
and all funny stuff that he should have been taken with good jest, but he didn't, because that's not the kind of man he is. He's very thin-skinned when it comes to stuff about himself.
And he's revoking everything that Obama did.
Well, that's why he doesn't like what Obama did, because he doesn't like what Obama said at the Correspondents' Dinner. That's how petty the man is, you know, and that's our president.
Yeah.
You know, he's a man boy or something.
He's going to get us into a war because someone looked at him funny.
Well, I mean, the whole attitude that how dare you be against me? I'll take away your security clearance if you're against me.
I don't understand why the former director of the CIA still has a security clearance.
Well, there is a reason for it, because the present head of the CIA calls upon him every now and then for advice. And the advice may be of a classified nature, and so therefore he has to have CIA clearance, or rather, clearance, whatever that is.
We got clearance.
Yeah, but when he took it away, what he did is he also stopped a resource from existing for the CIA. Because all CIA heads go back to former CIA heads and say, what would you do in my situation? You know, what did you do when something like this happened to you? And it might, what they're talking about, be of a classified nature. So really, he fucked up our security system just by pulling his clearance. And why? Was there something...
He's a petulant little child.
This is a man for 36 years who could keep secrets. Something, by the way, Trump isn't very good at. You know, but he kept secrets for 36 years. What makes you think he doesn't deserve a classified thing? You know,
all to get Omarosa off the news.
Yes. That's what he does. He always, and you know something. The press are like dogs chasing a stick. You know, you don't even have to throw a stick for the dog. You pretend like you're throwing a stick, and they go chasing it. And that's exactly how Trump deals with the press. He knows if he throws the stick, and he doesn't even have to have a stick in his hand, they're all going to go chasing it.
Faking him out.
Yeah. So, you know, I mean, the press is... I don't think they're fake. I don't give them that much credit for being fake. If they were fake, they would have some creativity. But I do say that they are naive, and they are complicit in all the problems we have now, because they created Trump just because they chased the stick.
Nobody ever followed every candidate's lecture and rally, and nobody ever did that. It happened in the background, and news was made.
By the way,
they followed every one of his. They didn't follow every one of Hillary's, but they televised every one of his rallies because something might happen. because something
Yeah.
they might turn on the press or there might be a riot, but they followed every one of them.
But
They
you-
televised everything. You're right.
You know what I find somewhat curious is that I watch MSNBC and they go, well, where are those tapes of Trump using the N-word when he was doing The Apprentice? Well, you should know. You're NBC. It ran on your network. You have some access to those tapes. If Burnett doesn't want to give them up, you say, hey, we fucking paid for them. Okay? So we want them, or you're never going to work for this network again. NBC could get them in a second. And Penn Jillette went to some magazine or something and was being interviewed and said, oh, there are tapes of him using the N-word. He said, he used it all the time when I was doing The Apprentice, and the tapes were rolling. He said he did it to such an extent that it made me feel personally uncomfortable. You know, so...
And then he said, but don't take my word because I'm an unreliable witness.
Exactly. Exactly. And then, going after Mueller.
You know what, though? It doesn't matter because the people who believe that he's a racist already believe he's a racist. And if the N-word tape does appear, his supporters would say, oh, what's the big deal? You know, rappers use it all the time. Eddie Murphy made a career out of using it. So, I mean, his base, it's not going to change anybody in our space. It wouldn't matter.
Well, no, what I find that 33% or something who are just solidly, in his camp, they will,
mean and stupid, yeah.
They will make an excuse for anything he says or does. You know, well, he's just being unpredictable. Really? Really? That's what you call it? You know, when it seems like every black person he tweets about is dumb or stupid?
Yeah.
You know, I guess black people are dumb. Right, Don?
Like you, Maxine Waters, yeah.
Yeah, Maxine Waters, Don Lemon.
Don Lemon, dumb. LeBron made Don Lemon look smart, which is really hard.
Yeah. And tell me, who is one of the smartest athletes in the country? LeBron James. He's supposed to be quite brilliant. You know, he's a very smart man. I mean, and who is Trump to call anybody dumb?
Like when he after Rex Tillerson called him a moron, someone told the president, "We think that your Secretary of State might have called you a moron," and Trump's immediate response was to challenge him to an IQ test. When he probably couldn't spell IQ.
No, probably couldn't spell IQ. Well, you know, as a political comic, this is like, it's almost too easy.
The hard part, though, is finding the stuff that will last. Because, yeah, you're right, something happens every day, which is good for the late night talk show hosts, you know, because the writers are constantly coming up with something new. But for me, on stage, because I have to get good at this.
By the way, in case you're listening to us on just audio only, Will is currently killing a cat.
She doesn't like me.
Is that Heloise?
That's Heloise.
Yeah.
But it's hard for me when I do my little show because I have to get good at a line for it to appear in the show. I can't do. It's a 90-minute show.
You've got to craft it.
Yeah, and I got to fit it in so that it all kind of builds and has a through line. So the hard part for me is finding a line that fits into the act and betrays a larger point. Because I'm working on his zombies, you know, the Trump zombies, as you say, the 35% that are just rock solid.
Yeah.
So trying to expand that right now.
Yeah. So I mean, but still, it's.
You'll see. I'm coming to New York in November.
Well,
I'm going to do my little one-man show. You'll come down and see it.
But I don't go to little shows. You have to start calling your show a big show.
No, it's a
when
little
I do the big
show.
show.
No,
you know,
clawed my way to the middle. I remember doing that line where I said I clawed my way to the middle, and I did that line on your radio show, and Bill Hicks was on the show with us, and I said it's because this is like one of the things I clawed my way to the middle. It's lonely at the middle, and Bill Hicks looks over at me and says, crowded too.
Oh man, I miss him. He's one I really miss, you know.
Him and Sam.
Him and Sam. But more Hicks. I mean, when I talk about special, okay, Hicks was the definition of special. And I can't even. People will say, well, why was he special? And I can't tell you. There was just something about him on stage where you went, wow, this is the real deal. You know, for years, people would say to me, oh, this guy's the new Lenny Bruce. And I said, no, you never saw Lenny Bruce. He's not the next Lenny Bruce. And they always use that admonition. And in the case of Hicks, I said he came closest to that approbation. You know,
he would either kill or die.
Yes.
There was no in between. Audiences were never just blasé about him.
And part of the reason was he was fearless.
Yeah.
You know, he was fearless. But anyway, talking about dead comics, well, it makes us feel good because we're still alive, I guess. You know? It makes me very sad sometimes when I think about Bill. However, they did a thing on CNN. They're doing the history of comedy, and they did one.
How
about,
is that?
It's okay, but they did something about all the a lot of dead comics, right? You know, and Bill Hicks was the first image on that show, so I felt good about it. But then after it was over, I went, they didn't mention Pryor, they didn't mention Kinison, they didn't mention Lenny Bruce, and, they didn't mention Andy Kaufman. And I'm going, I guess they missed out on a few. It was like whoever did it just did it within their age range. You know?
Yeah. Well, if you look at the Comedy Central's top 100 comics, I mean, it's incredible, you know? Because it's, you know, I mean, Craig Shoemaker is on it. You know, the top 100 comics of all time, you know, because it's all about this generation.
Exactly.
You know? They don't. Yeah,
hey, well, listen, Mr. Durst, it's always a pleasure to talk with you.
Well, the honor is mine, young man.
Yeah.
And let's do this again in 3 weeks.
Yeah, we'll do it again in 3 weeks here, and then you're going to come on with me Sunday when I do that big national radio show. So.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
Which is, well, I'll tell you about it after we're off here. Anyway, that's it, ladies and gentlemen. Show me San Francisco again. We'll go out on a shot of San Francisco. There it is. It's foggy as usual. Thank you, Will. I appreciate it. Bye.
Celebrating 4 years of talk like you've never heard it before. This is Gabby, the Great American Broadcast Network.
And yeah, I turned on the microphone just in time. Yeah. You know, I suddenly realized something here. See this? I saw an ad on TV the other day about, you know, sometimes you get your front here gets all saggy, and they said, oh, you just use this what do you call it, softener. So I got to go get some of that softener because my shirts all do this now, and I like wearing the T-shirts, you know. Anyway, I've got it's cold in here because I've got the air conditioning on. Because if I don't have the air conditioning on, it gets too hot. So I have to turn on the air conditioning, and then it gets too cold, and then I try to turn the air conditioner up. But this thing doesn't. This thing, you could turn this thing up to 80 and it doesn't know the difference, right? You know. So anyway, hey, let me. We got stuff to talk about tonight. Oh God, a lot of stuff to talk about tonight. Let me get Skype up here. Get it turned on. There you go. We're online, and people can call me then. You know, and we'll talk with you. Thing we call the citizen panels. If you don't know how it works, just go over to gabnet.net. That's our website. for all things GabNet. Over the right-hand side of the page is a tutorial on how you can be part of the Citizens Panel by using Skype, and it's very easy. We've got the place where you can download it from, and you just install it. It's so simple to install. And then if you want to call us, we have a little button on there you can click, and if your Skype is open and ready to go, you click on that and it just dials us. Okay? It's also got a number for a landline in case you don't want to use Skype and you don't want us to see who you are and you don't want to get the complete enjoyment of our little festival here every night. But anyway, our number, if you want to call us on Skype, is Skype Live, GabNet Live. What am I saying? GabNet Live, which is it's what we call. It's just kind of an ID or whatever, you know. You'll make up your own name when you get Skype. So anyway, now I'm just sitting here waiting for people to call, and it's a Tuesday. And that's always a bit on the slow side. So we'll have to see what happens here. I would hate to have to sit here and not get any calls. I have this great fear. I'm doing the show on Sunday for my friend Walter M. Sterling, and it will be on the Westwood Radio Networks. If you want to see it, well, I'll give you information on that later. Jeff Stein is calling, and I gotta go to Jeff because Jeff is now back from Italy.
I is.
How was it?
It was great.
Yeah, you had a good time, huh?
Yeah, it was hot as hell.
Really? What part of Italy were you in?
Well, I started in Rome.
Yeah.
And then went up.
Yeah.
It just happened.
Because I was supposed to go to Sicily once with a friend of mine, and I understand in Sicily it's just the heat during the summer is just unrelenting, you know. But hell, and there's Phil. Phil, how are you feeling?
I feel good. I feel real good, and you know, I even feel good about Manafort.
Well, we'll get to that. You don't have to jump into that.
I know.
You feel good about Manafort and Cohen. Yeah, they really got off, didn't they?
If they're crooks, they got what they deserve.
Well, yes, I guess that's how Trump will throw them to the wolves. Anyway, no, but I was asking him about Italy, and so of course,
buongiorno.
You know, the food was great, right?
It is, but you know, it's a little different than what we see.
Really?
Because bread's good there too.
Yeah, it's different. I don't know. It's a little different in this.
I don't know. When I
very similar.
Every time I've gone to Italy, I've been overwhelmed by the food. I even find there are little roadside food places, gas stations, and you can go into one of those and you will get great food.
I had a salad once in Florence, and it was a salad bar. You know how they have spaghetti bars and pasta bars? Well, this was just a salad bar. You went in there, and it was like the soup Nazi. This guy would yell, and if you ordered something, what you got depended on what was left over from the last guy's order. Yeah. And, you know, if he made it up and there was more left in the bowl,
whatever he had, you got.
That became the beginning of your bowl. And it was unbelievable.
Yeah.
It was so good.
Yeah. But I mean, I went into one of these gas station food courts, okay? Yeah. I said, "Oh."
Did they have ho-hos?
I said, "I'll try the tiramisu. It's got to be terrible, right?"
Yeah.
It was unbelievable. It was terrific. And then he said, "Well, have the lasagna. Let's see what that's wonderful." You know, I mean, it's just that the food is, you know, and
he was with grandkids though, and grandkids want to eat paninis, and you know, kids don't go for.
They were fine. They were okay. Yeah, they tried their difficult stuff that they used to at the beginning, but they had lasagna and it was It was good lasagna.
I'll bet it was.
Well, you know what I loved about Italy is here, if you order like prosciutto and melon, you get like a couple of pieces of melon and then a couple of slices of prosciutto. Over there, if you ask for a plate of prosciutto, it's piled like this, you know, on the plate.
That was the best thing I had. I think.
I every meal, like, give me the prosciutto, and they come giant plate of prosciutto. It was like, over there they make it by the ton.
The first time I went to Italy, I was there with my wife and
Mussolini was
and his sister, and we got there, and I don't know, they were trying to get dressed and ready, and we were supposed to go eat. And we were in this little town. Yeah. So there was only one place to go, right? So I sit down, and I have no Italian experience at all as far as language goes at that time at all.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I sit down, and they walk down, and they sit down, and I got the prosciutto, with the melon, and they're looking at me, and they go, "How the hell did you order that?" And I said, "It's simple. I asked for water."
Hey,
well, no, wait a minute.
I once took the train.
Wait a minute. Can I tell a story?
Yeah, maybe. You got a good story to tell?
Yeah, good story.
All right.
So we pull into this town. It gets late at night, and you just find the first hotel or motel that you can stay in, and we pull into this inn, and it's a nice place. And we said, we're in some small town, and we said, we want to get some dinner. Any good place to get dinner? He said, yeah, just walk down the street, and there's a place down there. So we walk down, and here is this place, which on the outside it looks really dingy. Okay. And I said, who was I with? I think I was with my wife, the wife I was married to at the time. And I said, you want to go in, just take a chance on it? She said, yeah, but I don't think it's going to be very good. We walk in the door, and we walk into the main room, and the inside is palatial. It's like this big dome ceiling with paintings on the dome. It's like
Sistine Chapel.
Like the Sistine Chapel. I mean, and then we ordered food, and it was the best food I've ever had anywhere. Okay? And I'll never find that restaurant again because I don't remember what town we were in. I don't remember what the name of the place was. But boy, was that good. What a surprise.
I took the train from Milan, where I was working, to Venice. Mm-hmm. And about halfway across, I was hungry. I wanted lunch. Mm-hmm. So my ex-wife and I, who was wife at the time, we get off the train in Padua. I don't know if you're familiar with that city, but it's like 1,000-year-old city. It's very, very old. And so we get off the train, and the first restaurant I see next to the train station, we walk in. I don't know what she had. I had venison, and it was so good. The sauce that was on it, I'd never had venison before. I asked the guy, what you have? He's the venison. Unbelievable. And these are the kinds of things.
I can't do venison because I know what it is, and it's too game. I don't like game. It
didn't taste gamey. Yeah. These guys were so good, and the sauce that was on it was so good. It just melted in your mouth. It wasn't gamey. I was afraid of that.
I told you the story about when we went to the Olympics in Norway, and there was a hamburger joint next door, and they had the best hamburgers. And we maybe ate 4 of these hamburgers a day. They were so good, and finally I found out they were reindeer.
Well.
And I went, no reason to stop now. Hello, Ray.
Howdy do.
There's Ray walking his dog.
Walking the dog.
Yeah. We're talking about our
places to eat.
Our places to eat, and Jeff's trip to Italy.
Cool.
And I think that's the best.
Jeff, while you were in Italy, they were shoving wires into my heart.
Yeah.
But I'm alive.
And he's peppier. Look at him. You know, I mean, there's no stopping him now. Jeez, I wish
so
they.
smiley.
You know what they should have done? They should have fixed your heart but put a bullet in your foot.
Well, you know, I don't understand why they put a wire up my ass, but you know, maybe that's giving me the smile.
But do you feel the difference?
Yeah, I do. I have more air. You know.
Do you have more energy?
I think so, but I've been being careful. It's I got about a week before I can do any exercise.
Yeah, yeah. But
and I don't want the arteries that they in the groin that they shoved things up. I don't want them to start bleeding.
Oh, okay. Well, nothing like bleeding from your groin. That's a lovely,
really.
lovely concept.
And from two arteries.
Yeah, it's a lovely, lovely.
Have you gotten
concept.
any more clear-headed, like about politics and stuff?
No.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm more pro-Trump now than I was before.
Oh shit! Created a monster.
You know what's going to happen?
Like Frankenstein.
What's going to happen is eventually even the Trumpites will desert him, and he will still be for Trump.
Yeah.
What's this have to do with collusion? You know, so he paid off a couple of hookers. Big deal.
Yeah. No, they weren't hookers. Well, one was a porn star, but that isn't a hooker.
His wife's the only hooker.
Yeah. Hey, the other one, even though she was hotter than shit, she was cavorting with a married man.
Yes,
and she knew it.
But and she felt terrible about it because she was in love with the man. You know.
That's what she says on TV.
No, she was in love with him. I mean, I can't see any reason why she should be, but she was.
You know, I can understand that. I'm in love with him too.
Oh, really?
That's obvious.
Well, then why don't you blow him for the rest of us, okay?
All right.
Maybe you can
Just
slow
like
him
Putin
down.
did. You and Putin could be the two guys who have blown Trump.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, according to you guys, Trump is blowing Putin.
Yeah, probably.
I like the days when George Bush was president of the United States, and they used to refer to Putin as Pooty Poot. Remember that? Yeah. They used to refer to him as Pooty Poot. So I thought that was, you know, I think we should all refer to him as Pooty Poot. Anytime he starts acting up. Pooty Poot. Hey, hello, Kevin.
Russia, I was told that Russia has the economy the same size as Italy. That their economy, now maybe that's just their legitimate economy and everything else is run underground, but they said the GNP of Russia is the same as Italy.
Yeah, well, black market is huge in Russia, has been for centuries. It's really, really huge.
Yeah.
It's huge.
Yeah.
How huge is it?
It's really big.
You know, so you know, when you look at, you know, what they use to support their military and what they use to support you know, their programs and so forth, there isn't that much money when you look at the size of the country and the population.
Well, you know, you got to remember they had a huge population which was diminished greatly after World War II because of the war, in which they lost 25 million human lives.
Yeah,
and that takes a big chunk out of a big country.
Yeah, well, that was during the war, and you know, they eliminated 6 million Jewish lives as well. You know, and when you look at the population of Jews in the world, and you look at the population of Russians,
that's not the point I was trying to make,
percentage.
Phil. The point I was
sure
trying
it's
to
not
make.
the point you were trying to make.
No, the point I was trying to make is that their population decreased precipitously during the war. And in fact, it's one of the reasons the Russians have never liked America, because we were supposed to start a second front, and we never did. And those 25 million Russians got killed as a result of it.
We've done the same thing to a lot of other people that we support, whether it was the Bay of Pigs in Cuba or the Kurds. I mean, you know, there's a number of people that we.
And don't forget the Ways.
Oh, Kurds
they fought
and Ways,
with the Kurds and Ways. Little Miss Muffet sat on a tuffet eating her curds and Way. Anyway.
Yeah.
Hey, Jeff, did you almost get hit by the bridge?
Not at all.
Yeah, that's what people do. They go, "Hey,
that was in another city."
Probably nowhere near it.
Yeah, it was on
same country though.
What?
I was on the East versus the West.
Yeah.
So you were on the east. Oh, the east.
Venice.
Okay, so Venice and stuff, not Pisa.
Venice is on the other side of
Naples.
Genoa, the country.
Yeah.
Well,
Isn't Genoa
And
near
it's
Pisa?
one fucking bridge.
Pisa and what's it called?
It's one fucking bridge, and
Cinque
if
Terre.
somehow I've been to Cinque Terre.
Yeah, me too. That's where I had my honeymoon.
Really?
You know
It's
that
a
that,
lot- it's a little- can we?
Cinque-
Hey! We're talking with each other right now.
I thought
Okay.
that. Am
Just-
I not another?
Well, no, but just try and hold your breath a little bit so you feel less air. Okay, all right. No, we went to Cinque Terre, when we went to Italy a couple of years ago. That's when she was.
cool.
I did the video I have online with her. Her with the crutches. That was in Cinque Terre, where she.
Right.
We bought the crutches in. Where was it? What's the big the beautiful town there?
Milan? Or,
No.
No, it's industrial.
The beautiful town. Oh, the one, the circular
Portofino.
one.
No.
Oh, no, the one that's circular, Sorrento or
Lake Como?
No, the one that's right
You're
near
just
there. It's a
naming
circular
places,
town,
Phil.
and
No,
they
it's
have the
circular.
horse
He said
race in the
circular.
middle. They have a
Lake
they
Como
have
is a
horse race
lake.
in the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was the name of the town? Because I told her.
I'm trying to remember the damn name.
I said
it
I
begins
would.
with an S.
Seville.
Siena.
Sorrento?
No.
Siena or Sion.
Siena. That was it.
Yeah, that's it.
Well, anyway,
That's
I've always promised I'd take her back to Siena because she never got to see it because she was in a bed because of her legs. And one day I put her in the car and kind of drove her around to some of the places there. But Siena's really nice. Really nice.
It's one of the most beautiful architectural things in the world, I think, Siena. It's just incredible.
It's also right.
You don't think Florence is...
Well, I mean, Siena, you can go up on the hill and you look down, and it's this town that's built in circle. It's a big, it's a circle. It's just incredible to me. It's just beautiful.
When you walk into Florence and you see that big green marble Duomo,
I was in Florence. I never saw it.
Well, it's what you first see when you walk in.
No, I didn't first see anything.
There's like
she was so gimpy by then that we didn't go anywhere. So we were really kind of on the periphery. We were in Florence, but we were on the periphery, and the only thing was I was there long enough to get a traffic ticket.
Really?
Yeah, which I got when I came back to the United States because they said you went the wrong way. What they do is at different times of the day they change the direction or the streets that the traffic can flow on. But
that makes sense.
But all the signs are in Italian, so how am I going to read that, right?
Yeah.
So I went down a road you weren't supposed to drive down at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and they took a picture of me. And then when I got back to the United States, I got the ticket in the mail. And they said, "Well, you don't have to pay this, but don't ever come back to Italy again."
Same thing happened to me in Jersey. Hey,
well, and you didn't pay it because you didn't need to go back to Jersey.
Yeah, the word cinque means five.
Yeah,
and
5
so
terraces.
Cinque Terre means probably five lands.
Terraces. 5 terraces.
Yeah.
It's layered in 5. There's 5 terraces that you can hike up to. If you walk it, there's 5 flat areas.
Did you ever
walk for it? Yeah, I walked from
I walked the whole.
Portofino up to the top one there.
My wife, I think on her Facebook page, she has a picture we took at Cinque Terre. It's one of our favorite pictures, and it was wonderful there. But anyway, so I digress.
I loved it.
I digress. So let's get to the meat and bones of all of today. Oh, you just started smiling, Phil.
Jesus.
I just decided that I was gonna, you just started smiling. Hi, Phil.
I'm going to practice some of the stuff I learned at therapy. I can tell. Here we go. Go, Phil.
Right.
Well, I want to know.
What?
What I want to know is what Phil's been doing while he was gone, because all of a sudden I started getting a bunch of Republican shit in the mail.
I'm not responsible for that.
I don't know, man. For some reason, I'm getting requests for the Republican National Committee.
All right.
For donations.
Well,
from Mike Pence and Donald Trump. So I'm going to make a whole ceremony and shred this shit and put it in an envelope and send it back to him.
I think Phil pranked you.
No, I didn't prank him, but I wish I did.
Put me on a shit list.
Maybe
I wish I did.
Maybe
I don't know your address.
Well, it could be the Russians.
Yeah.
I think, you know what? That could be.
Yeah.
But look at this. You know, it says that...
Did that come in the mail?
Yeah.
Ooh.
I don't know how the hell I got onto it, because I'm an independent...
Boy, what a waste of fucking postage on their part.
Yeah, I know, and they didn't even pay, but I'm going to spend the money and shredder and put it in an envelope and send it back to them.
You know, it probably is because you're independent, and they figure they might get you.
Yeah,
they might get you on their side.
They got a little survey on there that, you know, asked me some questions. Do I want to stop illegal immigration? Do I want to repeal and replace Obamacare? Mm-hmm. Do I want to end unfair trade practices? And then they, you know, want to know my party membership, that my affiliation, and then it's all these little corrections, correct here, and everything's right except my party affiliation. It says Republican, and I said, where the hell are you getting Republican? I've never been a Republican.
So was your answer yes to all of those questions?
No, I haven't put nothing on them. I'm going to shred
them. Well, you know, I was wondering if Alex liked porous borders. Do you like the fact that our borders aren't secure?
I don't like bookstores when they're wet.
Yeah. Well, what about the guy in who now has been accused of killing the student in Iowa? I think Tibbetts. Now he was an illegal alien.
Yeah.
And if
is that the only illegal alien you can find that murdered somebody?
No, there was another one.
In Colorado killed his family, and he was white as a ghost.
Yes,
so.
exactly.
Yeah, but he was supposed to be here. The other guy wasn't.
No. It doesn't count.
He wasn't supposed to be here either.
Doesn't count, Phil, because you're going to point out
it doesn't count.
Every time there's an illegal immigrant who kills somebody, you know, if find me 200 or 300 of them, and maybe I'll start saying you have somewhat of a case.
Well, you know, we got 200-300 of them. They're, you know, about 5-6 years old, and they're sitting in a detention center.
See, I have to blow my nose.
Oh my God,
those I don't agree with, but I do agree with some of them. You know, the crooks should be sent back, but there's no good way to vet that right now. So,
well, not as long as you have
just shut them all out.
Not as long as you have.
Why should the kids be in the same position as an MS-13 jack?
They shouldn't, but as long as you have sanctuary cities and you have cities that refuse to obey the law, you're going to have.
No, wait a minute. They refuse to obey. They refuse to obey.
Hold on a second. If they break the law, the cops are going to bust them, whether they're MS-13 or whatever.
Also, they refuse to. Hold on a second, Phil. They refuse to obey the federal law because they believe in their own state's rights.
Correct. And they're gonna arrest them anyway. It's not like they're, you know, this is what gets so difficult. They make it sound like they let these guys run free, which they're not doing. They call it a sanctuary state. Okay, well, you're a gangster, so you're not going to get touched. Bullshit.
What's happening is, for instance, in Oakland, the mayor, Libby Schaaf.
That's fine. She can say all she wants.
God bless her.
No,
she's
but she warned them all that ICE was coming to arrest them.
Bravo. When's her next election? I'll give money to her campaign.
And you know what those guys do? Those guys sit there and say, big fucking deal. Come get me.
Well, they didn't in Libby Schaaf in Oakland's case. They took off. And instead of rounding up a bunch of criminals, they ended up, with a lot of dry holes.
Santa Cruz caught a bunch of them.
Yeah. Well, they probably went from Oakland to Santa Cruz.
Yeah, well. I don't know. Yeah. I just, things get distorted. I listened to Mr. T in his little speech today down there in Virginia. And
West Virginia?
Yeah, I was, it was just disgusting.
Well, I mean, if you're trying to get a crowd behind you and you want people to come out and vote.
Oh, he's doing that. He's doing that perfectly
he was
well.
there.
He's leading a cult.
He wants to defeat Manchin, Joe Manchin, and get this Irish guy, I guess, elected. I forgot his name.
Some pedophile.
Yeah.
Some pedophile.
No, it's just that,
No, he's not Catholic.
I forced myself to watch him for, 45 minutes, and it was just an exact repeat of what he was doing back there, of me. Look what I did. And it had nothing to do with any campaign that was going on there. It was all about what he's done and what he did, and it had nothing to do with what he was down there for, was campaigning for midterms. It was all
but the
about
whole
him.
idea is
But it was the same shit.
Yes, but his shit is what the coattails he believes that he brings to these candidates, these Republican candidates, that he believes that his endorsement.
He may believe it.
boosts-
He may believe it, but so far it hasn't proven to be true.
No, that's
Come up with something new.
That's right. Well, why? If it works, why not use it? Why does it have to
If
be?
lying and deceit, it works, just keep lying and being deceitful.
Man, I don't think
Pretty
he's
much.
lying and being deceitful.
You don't think he lies? He lies like 7 times a day on average.
Yeah. Okay. No, I don't think. I think that you don't want to believe the things that he's doing that are positive. And
Tell me one.
Well,
I wish he was doing as much as he says he was.
Tell me what he's doing that's positive.
okay, he's helped the economy.
No, he hasn't. No, he hasn't.
Unemployment
No,
is
he
low.
hasn't. No, he hasn't.
The lowest it's been.
The
in 50
unemployment
years.
is low, but the wages are less.
No, not
Wages are
necessarily.
way
Wages
down.
are coming up.
Wait a minute, wages are way down.
Yeah, that's because we're competing on an
No,
uneven
wait a minute.
playing
Wait a minute. You made a
with
statement
China.
that he's improved the economy, and here's a case where you say, well, there's less unemployment. Yes, but the equivalent of that, the equivalency on that is that the wages are down. So,
You can always come up with some negative thing.
No,
but
that's a very realistic negative thing, Phil.
Is unemployment down or isn't it?
No, yes, unemployment is down, but wait a minute, hold on a second. Yeah. But the wages that are being paid are lower than they've been.
Doesn't matter.
Yes, it does matter.
If you put people to work, it generates taxes. If it generates taxes and income,
good. I'm glad
there
it
are fewer
generates
people on food stamps now.
If it's on less money, you don't generate taxes.
Can't be that much less. There are fewer people on food stamps.
Okay, shut up, Phil. Jeff's turn. That's the only way to stop him now is to say, "Shut up, Phil."
That a lot more people have jobs than they did before. But what the hell does have to do with Trump?
Well, his reduction of onerous, what do they call them? Onerous regulations. By getting rid of a lot of these, he's putting even in West Virginia, they're talking about opening up coal.
Coal. That's a really modern form of energy.
Yeah,
those guys can go back and get their black lung.
They can get their black lung, and I can cough from all the coal being spewed into the air and wash it out of my hair every day like I used to here in New York City.
Well, maybe you'd like to get the fallout from Montrose, New York, and the nuclear plant.
Well, there hasn't been any fallout from those plants. So you're speaking out of your ass.
No, that's not true. When I was growing up in that area,
I believe in nuclear power for two reasons. Number one, I do think it can be done cleanly, and secondly, because I can pronounce it, Phil.
Yeah, the water outside that nuclear plant.
The nuclear plant.
Yeah, nuclear.
Nuclear. I can't even pronounce it wrong. It's hard for me to pronounce it wrong.
The nuclear.
Nuclear.
And not nuclear, but nuclear. So the water in the Hudson River right there is superheated. All the fish, they float on the surface from dying from the superheated water. You don't think that water that's cooling those rods isn't contaminated?
Where did you hear that?
I swam in that water when I was a kid.
Well, maybe it's not that way anymore.
Well, in 1965 and 66, it was.
Well, how many years now? How many years have passed by?
Oh my God.
One or two, but they use that water to cool the rods.
Is that what happened?
Yeah.
You better be glad they cooled.
Turn around.
The
I want to
fucking
see your
rods.
third eyeball.
Yeah.
You know what I loved about what Trump, what's her name, the black woman who got fired?
Omarosa?
Omarosa.
Manicotti? It's an Italian name.
The phone call where Trump calls her
Manigault.
and says, "Oh, I didn't know they fired you. I'm so sorry about that. I didn't know. Nobody told me." Boy, well, they got a lot of stuff.
Well, yeah, you're
They
only
do-
the
they-
you're
they-
the only
They
you're
do a lot
only,
of different things down there.
you're only the fucking
that was
president of the United
hilarious.
States.
Like
It
a
was his
different
chief-
department or something.
His
Yeah, they
chief of staff.
You got a whole
fired
bunch
him.
of things going there, and I don't
But
know what
he
goes
knew.
on in that
Come on.
Yeah,
department.
he's like, I'm the manager upstairs, and I don't know what they do down there.
And then he had his son's wife call her for the bribe. That was great. The $15,000 a month.
I think they
Classic.
offer a lot of people, before she started going negative and going with all of this crap, they offer everybody they fire a job.
The one thing
So they'll
we
keep
do
their
know-
mouths shut.
Not necessarily.
Well, that's what it was in that phone call. You heard it, didn't you?
I didn't hear the phone call. I heard the.
Oh, you should listen. I mean,
Oh.
it's obvious that we're going to pay you this money, but you have to keep quiet.
somewhere there's a
Yeah.
tape with him using the N-word.
Yeah.
And
no one's going to give a shit.
No, it's going to come
Well,
out.
we all know
it's
the
going to
truth
come
isn't
out.
The truth.
What? The
truth isn't the truth.
truth
We
isn't
know
the
that.
truth. That's
The
that-
truth
yeah.
isn't the truth.
Yeah, and that it depends on what the definition of is. Yeah, I mean, oh boy.
This whole thing is coming unraveled.
No, it's all about nothing. When you look,
Yeah.
when you look
it's
at
all
the
about
whole
nothing. Well, wait a
picture.
minute. Hold on a second.
Bullshit.
Hold on a second.
Bullshit.
So,
Okay.
today you had a man.
Manafort.
Today you had a guy go into court and plead guilty to
Yeah, 'cause he's a bum.
bribing a woman on behalf of the president of the United States. They
And
have
he
nailed
has-
him. They have nailed him because he's testified in court. They've nailed him.
Hey,
Lips
people
like a
plagiar
pancake.
themselves. How do you know his testimony is legitimate?
Because
He is,
wait a minute.
He has
Wait a
said
minute.
all
Because
sorts
wait a
of
minute. No,
things.
wait a minute.
Oh, my God.
Because it's under oath, and if he's perjuring himself, that is yet another very terrible
And
crime.
he wants out.
Under
He wants
oath.
out.
I'm such a good-looking guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
See,
He
I can
wants
lie.
out, so he flipped like a damn hot burger.
Yeah.
No, he's composing. That's what they say. Some of them, they try to make them sing, and oftentimes they want them to compose the song as well.
No.
Hey, Phil, what would it take for you to stop?
By the way, Phil didn't make that up. He heard that somewhere.
Yes.
What would it take for you? What would it take for you, Phil, to flip, to suddenly realize that you've been wrong? What would it take? What would have to happen?
A significant amount of money.
No, but what I'm
And an NDA, right?
what I'm saying is that in this particular case, here a guy goes into court. What's his name?
Manafort.
Cohen.
Michael Cohen.
Michael Cohen goes into court, and he pleads guilty, and he admits to having committed crimes, including bribing Stormy Daniels on behalf of the President of the United States. Okay? Wait a minute.
If he
Hold on a
did it-
second. Hold on a second. He is doing this in a court of law. Anything he says is perjury if it's wrong.
Do you remember the Edwards trial? They had a similar thing, and he was acquitted of a similar charge. Do you remember that?
No.
Okay. Well, I can tell you that Edwards was accused of a similar
wait a minute.
campaign violation.
No, it was a different situation altogether,
No,
Phil.
it's
No,
exactly
it is not exactly the same.
He had a baby.
What Cohen did,
with a journalist.
Yes, but he didn't. There wasn't a whole thing of sending a lawyer off to pay her off. He paid her off himself, but he took the money out of his campaign funds.
Right.
Well, that's a
it's the same
completely
thing because
no.
what
This
they're
is different.
accusing-
No, this is different because they're accusing Cohen of having paid her and that not being reported as a contribution. And by the way, it went over the amount you can contribute as a single person to a campaign. Wait a
so
minute.
in those
so
cases,
those are in two entirely different cases. Phil.
So in those cases, what do? The guy pays the money back to the campaign, and
no,
maybe there's a fine, but it's not.
He
collusion.
put money out of his pocket to pay Stormy Daniels in the amount of $130,000, which is, I might say, $134,000 more than you're allowed by law to give to a campaign.
Except it was Trump's own corporation that paid the money. So isn't that the same as Trump paying the money?
But the fact was that he claimed that it was a contribution, and it clearly couldn't be because it was over $2,000.
You mean he tried to write it off?
Of course.
No, they're claiming that it was a contribution because it was done in a
your boy Trump looks terrible. He looks like he was complicit.
The time issue.
What this shows by his testimony is that Trump was complicit. Now, this, by the way, his admission can't be used in court of law against Trump. That's not enough to go get Trump. But it certainly indicts him, in my mind, in the public's eye, that this guy is a fucking...
Well, but in your mind, in the public's eye, and the fucking this or that isn't going to get you what you want, which is an indictment or an impeachment against Trump.
Right.
But it certainly tells us that
it's just a bunch of hot air
crooks.
Can I just say one thing?
The president has a swamp.
Manafort was known to be a crook.
Somebody wrote, he calls himself the American Patriot, that says both women signed an NDA, perfectly legal to do so. No crimes were committed. Wrong.
Well, how is that wrong?
NDAs are bullshit, okay,
they mean
to begin with. They don't mean shit. And by the way, the president trying to get people to sign NDAs while in the White House, we don't have NDAs in the federal government. You can't do that.
No, but in private.
No, but he's tried to do that in the White House now. He's had people sign NDAs. The fact is they signed NDAs, but it just doesn't hold. Okay, so whoever wrote that, you're full of shit.
Kevin, did you get an NDA in that survey?
Yeah.
Let me look.
Yes, Ray.
Probably.
I just want to say, I mean, this is a perfect example of the lying. So when the news broke that Stormy Daniels was paid off, Trump said he knew nothing about it. Then after hiring Giuliani some months later, Giuliani said that Trump did know about it. So that's
not what Trump said.
Wait,
Trump
Giuliani said it.
No, Trump was on his airplane before Giuliani, and when asked about it by a reporter, he said, "Ask my attorney."
Giuliani said Trump knew about it. I heard him.
Yes,
I'll go find it and send it to you.
But he didn't say he didn't know about it. He said, "Ask my attorney," at Michael Cohen. He didn't say he doesn't know anything about it. He just said, "Ask my attorney."
That's the point. Giuliani turned around and said that he did know about it when he said he didn't.
Well, it was going to come out.
No, Phil is claiming that Trump said he never said he didn't know about it. But I think you're wrong, Phil. I'm going to go find that.
I remember the conversation. It was on his plane, and a reporter, I don't know which reporter, a woman reporter asked him.
What did she ask him?
Ask my attorney.
What did she ask him?
I'm going to find it.
She asked him about the Stormy Daniels thing and the payment. And he avoided the question by saying, "Ask my attorney."
Yeah, well,
maybe
we have just asked his attorney, and we've gotten the answer.
No, you got a guy that's trying to save his own ass.
But he can't save his own ass at the risk of perjury, and his lawyers. Wait a minute, his lawyers will not allow him to perjure himself either.
No, and he shouldn't. But his lawyer, his old lawyer, Cohen, just pointed and said the Jews are in the attic. All right.
All I'm saying is every day a little bit of the tapestry is being sewn for the demise of Mr. Trump.
No, there's no demise.
By the time Mueller is finished, he is going to come up with a case that is so cut and dried and slam dunk, you won't believe it, Phil.
Hey, Ray, you're too young, but I voted for Nixon.
I'm not too young. I watched.
No. Nixon, you probably couldn't vote in that election.
I made his enemies list.
Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, what happened to Ray?
I think I still have that newspaper.
Ray, I think, has lost.
I think Ray froze.
They lost the signal.
Yeah.
It's going around. That's what you're seeing. It's a
What?
circle
That's
on your
what
screen.
Trump cut you off, Ray.
Yeah.
Oh,
there it
that's
is.
all right. I got a bad signal.
So I'm tired tonight, by the way, because.
Yeah. So
Well, what I've done is I've decided I'm trying not to take. Although I'm gonna have to do it tonight, taking Xanax to put me to sleep at night because I don't like it that much, you know. And so I started smoking a small amount of weed before I go to sleep, and it's let me go to sleep. But last night I did too much, and I kept staying awake thinking about stuff because of the pot. So
That's the problem with the new weed. It's so strong. Like, you know, one hit is perfect. One and a half hits put you over the top, and then it doesn't work.
Oh, wait a minute. For you in California, what you're talking about is completely legal. Same thing.
I know, but what I'm saying is just way too strong now. I mean, it's not like it was 30 years ago. It's it's so dense in THC and all these other things.
Why is this show so popular in California that three of the people I have online right now are all from the same area?
Because of your last 30 years in California.
Well,
but, you know, you were saying that it's not legal where you are and it's legal in California. So are you going to join the ranks of Cohen and Manafort? You know, with this illegal activity that you're participating in?
Well, to begin with, they don't really care about me. I'm small peanuts, you know.
Oh, no, but you're willing to flip on the president.
Yeah. Oh, I flip.
But there's a difference between marijuana and, you know, government cheating in the government.
Yeah.
The federal government.
You know, one's $100 an ounce, and the other is, you know, smuggling $16 million of.
What is the round orb in back of you, Ray? Is that the sun or the moon?
The moon.
Light.
UFO.
The moon.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's right there. That's the moon right there.
That's the moon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very nice.
Hey, Alex, is it hot by you?
No, is it hot by you? No, it's been actually quite nice.
No, it isn't. And just because the temperature went down, my my swamp cooler arrived today, and yeah, there it is.
Yeah.
And so I haven't put the water or the ice in it, and I haven't turned it on yet. But I'll let you know how it is.
Wow. Okay.
It was $1.99.
$1.99. That's good.
Yeah.
That's
delivered.
Good. That's great.
Amazon.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's the sun, right? Or is that the moon?
That's the moon.
That's the moon. Wow, that's nice. It's
and you can see it through the pollution caused by the fires. You know, the smoke.
Yeah, it's not as orange as so. There's less smoke today. It's usually orange.
Have you been getting smoke down where you are?
Yeah, way up high in the atmosphere, so it's not really screwing up the air quality.
I smell it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I smell it too. But then I check the air quality and it's fine.
Well, it really doesn't amount to pollution technically because it is natural. You know, it's not.
Well,
like,
if there's enough of it, it'll make you sick. Like up where
well,
the fires are,
of
man,
course.
it's nasty.
But what I'm saying,
I went up there; it was horrible.
What I'm saying is, it's not like a fire that has plastic in it and things like that. You know, it's
sure they do.
It's a
There's
forest fire.
thousands of structures which are burning.
It's a forest. The structures are nothing compared to the amount of woodlands that are being.
Well, you know, in the Santa Rosa area,
let's get back
they had
to
a lot of problems with the contaminated materials going into the drains and other, you know, carcinogens and
Did I
problems.
just hear crickets?
Yeah,
that's your audience.
Yeah, I can turn my mic off.
No, don't
wait
worry
a
about
minute.
it.
That's his audience.
I like the crickets.
Yeah, that's here. There's crickets. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's getting darker.
You can hear them. Yeah.
Yeah.
I went, you know, on the way up to Northern California a couple of weeks ago, we went through Santa Rosa and looked at the devastation. Man,
really,
it's just incredible. I took a bunch of pictures. Almost everyone is selling their property. There are just a few houses here and there where people are rebuilding.
That was like a year ago, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Last year, yeah.
And they're just, you know, it's pretty cleaned up. It looks clean now, but it's just it's just empty space for as far as you can see.
Well, Damien, wait a minute. Damien's storage facility, everything around it burned to the ground except for the storage facility, and that's where my stuff is. So,
wow.
yeah. But he, for some reason,
where's he at? He's by
Santa
Petaluma,
Rosa.
or-
Santa Rosa.
Santa Rosa.
Oh, okay.
But that was all the hydroponics keeping the area damp.
Yeah, see that water helps. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so it's going to be interesting to have a jailed president. That would be really.
Well, what's going to
I
be
can't
interesting
wait.
is how long is it going to take for them both to be pardoned?
These two.
I don't think Manafort's going to get a pardon right away.
No, he'll wait.
I think his pardon will come at the end of Trump's what do you call it, term.
Well, not this term. Not this term.
Not this term.
Well,
I don't think he's going to run again.
Well, if he doesn't get elected, he will probably do it at the end of this term. Otherwise, he won't do it. He won't do it until he gets reelected because he doesn't want that to come up in the campaign.
Honestly,
and by then Manafort will have at least spent 2 years in prison, which is fine by me.
I don't see Trump running in 2020. I think the only reason that he's doing this, I'm running in 2020, is so that he's not a lame duck president. See, if he says that he wasn't going to run, he's automatically a lame duck. So by saying that he's running in 2020, you can't treat him like a lame duck.
Yeah, he's not a lame duck. He's just lame.
Well, however you want to look at it.
Day one. He's a lame dick.
Yeah. But, think about it. I mean, as soon as you announce that you're not going to run, what are you?
Why do you think he's not going to run?
He's 72, is it? And I think that he's probably had enough. It's cost him close to $1 billion in his personal
He never
wealth.
had money to begin with. This is a way he could rob. This is the way he could rob the bank without having to have a gun.
That's right. He's protected. He's got cars. He's got the whole bit right now. Why would he want to leave?
He had better ones when he wasn't president. Did you see his plane? It was much nicer than Air Force One. And, his apartment, I think it was nicer than the White House.
You know who paid for that plane during the campaign?
Yeah.
We did.
Yeah, because, and don't they pay...
You don't have
the RNC
you
paid.
don't have an idea how close Trump was to bankruptcy before he ran for president. His running for president. Wait a minute. His running for president, he thought would get him out of a lot of hot water.
He never thought he'd win. He thought he'd own a new news network with Ailes. I think he was disappointed when he won. I think when Roger Ailes died, that put an end to another chapter in what he wanted to do.
Well, he could do it. He could do it without Ailes.
Yeah, but Ailes is the brains behind Fox. He was the guy that created what Fox was.
Yeah, but he created Fox at a time when there was a need for a Fox. You can't, that didn't mean that he could come back and do the same thing again and make it work.
The pundits that are on the losing side,
not pundits.
Pundits. When Clinton, when Clinton was president, you had the rise of all of these right-wing pundits.
Pundits. Yes. Pundits. Pundits.
All right, pundits.
Nuclear.
Nuclear pundit. So anyway, you had the rise of all of these guys.
I love you, Phil, but you're a moron.
Well, it's nuclear to me.
But Olympia Carey.
So, hey, I didn't go to the same schools you went to. You went to those progressive schools.
Oh, yeah, I went to a progressive school. St. Francis Drake High School in Marin County. That's a real progressive school.
It was progressive,
Yeah, sure.
They taught horticulture and pot growing and all of that kind of stuff.
Well, I learned in horticulture. I learned that you can lead a horticulture. You can lead a horticulture, but you can't make her drink. That's the joke.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's cute. So, anyway, I'd love to hear a little bit more about Jeff's trip. And
no, I don't want to hear about Jeff's trip. Yeah, you went to Rome. Hey, I've never been to Rome. I am the host of this show, and I try to steer the show in one direction or another.
Yeah, down into the gutter.
I think we found out about. Did you have anything more interesting to say about your trip, Jeff? I mean, it was only a 7-day trip, basically.
Yeah, I had a wonderful time, and I had grandkids with us.
See?
Yeah.
Yeah. You want to hear about the grandkids?
Yeah, let's talk about the grandkids.
Hey, did you go on a what do you call it, a gondola in Venice?
What we did is we were actually learned how to drive them ourselves.
Really? Did you sing?
No, we didn't sing.
When I was there,
some of us got good at it.
I've never been to Venice.
Oh,
that's
it's gorgeous.
The best place.
You really, yeah, I think so. It's beautiful.
Everybody told me it's like a sewer.
No, it's not at all. As a matter of fact, it seems like they've cleaned it up quite a bit.
Yeah.
It's a place to buy leather and paper. They make this handmade paper. Did you get any?
You know something? I love your little travelogues, Phil. Everything is a travelogue, and then you can get paper here, and you can get leather there.
You can. But you were only looking to buy pot.
You don't know leather products. Spain has the best leather products.
No, it's not
absolutely.
finished the way.
Absolutely.
Spain has cheap leather products.
No, it has great leather products. People go to Spain just for the leather.
Why are all the finest designers in Italy using Italian leather?
Because
they know how to process it. They make the softest, most supple, highest quality leather in the world. They do.
Ho-hum. You can really bring any conversation just down to a grinding halt.
Well, I try.
Yeah, I know you do your best.
Yeah. I'm getting tunnel vision.
Well, that's because he's going through a tunnel.
Yeah.
One night he's going to go through there and he's going to get mugged, and we'll have it all live on the air.
Shit! Get your hands off me, man! I'm sorry.
Hey, East Palo Alto's the next exit down, right?
I know. I'm really close.
Yeah, Jeff says it.
Yeah.
I'm not afraid of nobody.
The one thing about Phil is I noticed that I think your skin looks better.
Yeah.
At your surgery, you probably get some more. Maybe there's some additional blood going up to your brain. That's what the problem is.
Yeah, but
it's going to my joints.
No, the
but
problem
you
is
guys
that
wouldn't think it's going to the brain.
More blood going to his brain at this point is useless because the damage has already been done.
Yeah. I am the Widowmaker, which I keep forgetting what that one's called, the LD something, that artery. That one's 100% clear. The RCA, which is the other one, is also 100% clear now. And then I have one other that's like 20% clogged. And they said that's a mild, and they don't do anything.
Oh, by the way, we got this guy, American Patriot, who's doing it. He's in the chat, and he's throwing out all this bullshit. Okay?
What kind of bullshit?
Which makes
he should be calling in.
How come I never see this chat? Do I have to look at it on
YouTube?
On YouTube.
Yeah.
YouTube.
Right. Yeah. No. What's interesting about it is, and this is the big thing about it, is that he could very easily be a Russian.
Yeah.
You could very easily be a Russian.
It's probably a fake ID.
Microsoft.
Yeah.
Microsoft found 12 or 20 websites yesterday or today that are which were Russian plants.
Yeah, we know that.
For disinformation.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
he has no picture
American Patriot has no picture. Calls himself American Patriot. I think he's a Russian.
Let's turn him in.
Have him
I
call
think he's
in
a Democrat.
Have him call in and see if he tries to hide his accent.
Yeah. Good idea. Good idea.
Yeah.
Sounds good to me.
They also, it's funny that the attorney that met with Donald Trump Jr., the Russian attorney, didn't have a visa, and she was allowed to come here under Obama's and who was the attorney? Not attorney general. It was attorney general. That allowed her to come in here for special circumstances.
Oh, they do that with foreign people, with certain foreign people who are members and agents of a government.
Right. So they let them in, and
by the way, they let us in. They let us in as well.
How do they let us in?
To their country, to their countries. It's a reciprocal thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a difference between letting someone in and telling them state secrets.
I just got a new one, so now I can go places. Yeah. It just came in the mail yesterday.
You can go to Russia and see your Russian masters.
Yeah.
Go get a hooker and piss on you.
It's interesting that the hacking that was being done done of a conservative organization that's anti-Trump.
Anti-Trump, and then also
anti-Russian.
Some think tanks.
Yeah, but anti-Russian as well. And they disagree with Trump on his whole feelings about Russia. I mean, at this point, it's almost such a slam dunk that Russia fucked with our election.
But they're saying China and North Korea and Iran also.
Forget about anybody else. We're talking about Russia right now. Okay, Phil? What you do?
But we're being invaded from all sides.
You just committed the worst whataboutism
we're being invaded
on this
by
show.
all sides.
That's what Trump does.
No. China does it for different reasons. It's usually industrial. Iran, I have no idea what they're doing. But the fact is that Russia, we know through every source we have, whether it's the CIA, the NSA, Microsoft, Facebook, we know the Russians fucked around with our election. And to this day, Donald Trump will not say it.
The Chinese, you say
you
it's
didn't
industrial.
answer the question.
I'm answering the question.
No, you're
you
not.
say it's industrial.
No, we don't want to talk about China. China is not something we're discussing here. We're discussing the Russian.
But you have to.
You
have to because it's
no, we don't.
No,
we don't. No, we don't. Because the fact is, when we concentrate on the Russians' interference, it's pretty well generally believed in all our services and everything that the Russians attempted to fuck up our election.
I'm sure they did.
But to this day, Trump will not admit that. He will not say those words.
It's manipulation of power. They're trying to manipulate their power.
Okay, well,
and try to get into ours.
Think about this. You don't want to hear from Chinese, but what if the Chinese want to get rid of Trump and get a more pro-Chinese government?
So far, the fingers have not been pointing in the general direction of the Chinese for the election. Okay? We're talking about the election. We're talking about the election rigging. Yes, Jeff, and then Ray.
When Trump got off the airplane today, what do you think he said?
Das vidanya?
This stuff had nothing to do with Russia.
About 8 times.
Yeah. And yet everybody, CIA, NSA, Microsoft, of all people, Microsoft actually comes up with some of the goods on this deal, all say the Russians were interfered in our election.
Kind of like Bruce and Nellie Orr.
And, and he completely refutes it. He just,
Phil,
Bruce Orr and Nellie
Orr
my
turn,
are the
Phil.
ones that came up. Okay, I'm sorry.
So, Phil, I just want to say that when you bring up China and all these other countries, you've been brainwashed by Trump because he is the one who keeps saying, oh, yeah, but there are all these other ones, because he is the one who has all these dealings with Russia, and he wants to get the focus off of Russia, so he tries to put it on China and a 400-pound guy on a couch and all this stuff, and you're just playing right into his hands.
Well, maybe you're ignoring you're ignoring other facts
But
and
we
truths.
have no facts. We have no facts about those other countries doing
We have the
anything.
leader of the free world telling us that this is the deal.
Why would I believe him? He has no evidence. He just says it, but he has no evidence.
We don't know that.
Well, we've never seen it. We've only seen evidence against the Russians. Where's this other evidence?
We haven't even seen evidence against the Russians.
Yes,
as
we
far
have.
as that dossier is concerned, it was fabricated and
Oh,
paid
they've had
for
all
by the
kinds of evidence
DNC
to
and
cover-
Hillary Clinton and
Oh
the
my
FBI.
God.
And there's
Wow.
what? How many
Okay, I'm
Russians
done.
indicted?
I'm done.
16, I
They
think.
already know for sure
Okay.
the Russians did it.
No
Even
evidence.
before, there was
I'm
a
not sa-
town.
I'm not saying
There was
you're
a town.
wrong.
Never mind. Okay.
I'm not saying you're wrong. I agree with you. The Russians were complicit in this hacking. Our people that we trust, say that this is the truth. But I think that we're being invaded. That's why we need this space force.
Jesus.
God, you just buy everything.
You sound
he
just
says.
like his speech
Okay,
today.
okay,
You get like
okay.
God.
Okay, Jack Bishop, who runs the show after ours.
I can't believe the degree of bullshit tonight. Hey, Phil, don't you think we do the same thing?
Of course, except we didn't get caught.
Who
Or
said
if we
so?
did, they didn't cry.
Who said so? Who says we
Wait
have
a minute. Why do we even have to interfere in Russia's elections? I mean, Putin's a slam dunk. He fixes them himself. There's no
Well-
reason to interfere in their elections. It's a joke.
Well, wait a minute. Don't say that. Don't say that.
Okay.
You know,
All right. Why?
well,
Ukraine.
we were very successful in interfering with the elections that were scheduled for 1956
Well,
in Vietnam. We were very successful in undoing a duly elected democratic government in South America with was it
Allende?
Allende. We did a damn good job in '53 with the Iranians and
No.
setting Shaw
Shaw.
back.
Yeah.
that's a totally different time.
Now,
It
I'm talking
doesn't
about
matter.
now.
all right,
What do you mean it doesn't
playbook.
matter? Putin is a slam dunk whether we interfere or not.
how do you
That's
know?
because he's doing a good job.
How do I know?
How do
because-
you know? You know, you got,
Okay,
you know,
well, because he's
how
because
they-
he
how
has
they
purged
count-
people in his government just like Stalin does.
all
because-
right.
what?
Hey, how do
Okay.
they count the? I don't know how they count the votes in Russia. Do you? Do they count them by hand like we should, or do they use
Okay.
eyeball?
All right. Well, if you think that that's a democracy over there, I think
I'm
you're
not
kidding
Nobody
yourself.
said
Damn
nobody said it was a democracy.
Talking about winning a fucking election.
I
Okay.
thought they do
What
count
I'm
by
saying
hand.
is he
Didn't
doesn't
they-
have
didn't
to
they
win, and
caught
he's still
stuff
gonna
on the
win.
ballots?
Yeah, he's going to win no matter what.
Not
Don't you
necessarily. Not necessarily.
Okay.
You know, there's
Well.
a saying in South Texas that Alex might remember. That South Texas, when they started counting votes, there was always an extra box out there with votes for Lyndon Johnson. Just when they needed them.
You know,
This is a completely
Gorbachev.
different society.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's not America. In America, we're supposed to have free and unbiased elections. And if they were interfered with, these people are our enemies.
We do a good enough job with interfering with them
We
ourselves.
interfere with our own
Yeah.
damn
Yeah.
elections because we do things like
Hanging
voters.
Chad.
We do voters.
Oh, Jesus.
Who did we almost lose? Ray Renati?
Ray.
Yeah.
No,
Right.
it just looks like that. I'm fine. I'm
Oh,
like
yeah.
way far away from the.
Because Jeff and I want insurance on you.
Okay.
Hey, but look, you know, when we do things like taking, and I read about this in Pennsylvania, where 75% of the voting places, the balloting places, are being eliminated from certain districts. That's voter suppression.
Of course.
Now, you know, hey,
I agree.
This is America. If we can sell kids $200 sneakers, we can figure out a way to steal a fucking Russian election.
I don't think there's a need to steal a Russian election.
I have faith in my political crooks.
Okay.
Yeah, well-
I just don't think it's worth our time because he's going to win no matter what. He's going to make it. He's a dictator. He has complete control.
And you mean to say that when Putin and Trump meet, and if Trump was a real American, he couldn't slip him the cyanide like that guy. Hey, shake hands with the man. Like, just walk up to him, slap him on the back. The needle goes in the back of the neck, and he's down.
Put it in the soccer ball.
The president of the United States?
It would show some real courage and conviction for a change.
Why should he when it helps him get elected? Why?
A dead guy.
Yeah, he might help him wind up with a custom-made orange jumpsuit here in a few months.
Nah, you guys are dreaming.
I know I'm dreaming, because our politicians are buddies no matter what side of the political aisle they fall on, and they wouldn't send each other to jail unless they could make a good case out of it for themselves. Which I hope
Democrats just want the good offices with the window view, and when they're in charge, they get the good offices. When they're not in charge, the Republicans have the good offices. This is all about power.
Well, Ray, of course it's all about power. That's what it's supposed to be about. The question I always ask, name one thing in the last 40 years that the Republican Party has done that's benefited the average working person.
They freed the slaves?
I said 40 years.
All right. Well,
that's back 165 years.
All right. What did the Republicans do?
Party.
And by the way, let me just say that when they can I jump in? It's my show.
Boy, we get testy tonight.
Yeah, I know.
By the way, I have to remind you. Sunday night I'm on nationally on Westwood 1.
Yeah.
How do we hear you?
I'll give you one station. WMAL in Philadelphia carries it live.
Do you know what the one is in San Francisco?
Yeah, KKSF.
KKSF?
KKSF.
At what time?
10 to 1.
Your time?
Yeah.
Okay. 10 p.m.
Yeah, and I probably want some of you guys to call, but
So that's 1 a.m.
I'll talk
here.
about that
No,
later.
it's 7. It's 7
Oh,
p.m.
7. That's right. Oh, 7. Oh, cool.
Yeah, 7 to 10 your time. Yeah.
Okay,
But
great.
are you going to have a good producer on the dump button just in case?
Oh, but I never see them. I'm doing it from CBS here in New York, from a closet at CBS, where they got a microphone, a couple of computers, and a line down to Philadelphia. Where in? Hold on a second. Can I finish, Phil?
Well, I was going
to. Wherein resides the producer and the screener. So it's a very long distance proposition. Very strange.
Have you seen the studio?
No.
Do you think that maybe you're being conned by your friend Walter, and this is the most palatial studio you've ever walked in?
I don't know. He said to me,
and you're going to be surprised.
He said to me, it's a dump and small.
Yeah, that's what he said.
It's it's a dump.
It's an afterthought at CBS. Okay. It's not like CBS This Morning set. I'm not doing it from there.
Tuesday, you can tell us that it was either the most palatial set you'd have ever been on, better than Fox, or...
No, there's no set.
Yeah?
What do you mean? It's a radio studio. It's barely that. The radio studio is really down in Philadelphia.
And they just run an ISDN line in there, right?
Yeah, but basically that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, according to Alex, it was DSL.
I mean,
No, they don't.
ISDN anymore. Yes, they do.
Don't?
Oh, yes, they do.
That's what's crystal clear.
That's how Walter does his show from Cleveland.
Are you sure it's not?
No, he said. I asked him. I said, "Why can't we? Is there any way that I can do it from here, rather than have to go down to CBS?" And he said, "You have to have an ISDN line."
That's the only way you can sound like you're in the room.
No, there's another thing that a lot of people.
Oh, there is?
And that's VoIP. That's all we do around here.
That's what I have that's what at the store, and it sucks.
Here, I don't know why they still. It is a lot of broadcasters still using ISDN, and in this particular case, he uses ISDN.
Well, I think it's more reliable.
I have voice over IP through Verizon at the store, and I thought it was going to be the end-all, be-all. What a piece of shit that is. Yeah. I get more drop calls.
It is a piece of shit.
Yeah. Yeah. No, but I could do it from here, and with my, if we could do it just on the internet somehow. I've got a strong signal here. Never goes out. You know, it's really pretty good shape.
Well, look, if you need a ISDN encoder, I've got a couple. I'll be glad to let you use.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
is this going to be an ongoing thing on Sunday nights?
He's going on vacation for the week and asked me to do a show.
Ah,
so
people that get vacation.
So I'm going to do a show. Yeah. And I'm getting paid exactly what I get paid on Gabnet. So, you know, it's
Gabnet bucks.
Yeah, Gabnet bucks.
Yeah. Alex invented a new one called Gab Coin. And
I'm only doing it because I'll be able to plug Gabnet.
Oh.
Yeah. So, you know.
Well, that's good.
He's got intros for me and everything. You know, he's like really making it my show for the night. So.
Did Rob make any?
And he indicated he'd like me to do it more often if he can get me to do it. You know,
he wants time off.
Yeah, yeah. So
it's Sunday, 7 p.m. KKSF Pacific time.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'll get it on my 2 and record it in case I can't get it.
Any station around the North Texas area going to carry this thing?
Well, let me see.
You could probably get it online. It's Westwood 1.
No, well, you don't. You go to WMAL in at WMAL.com, and up at the very top it says live. Listen live, and when you call while the show's on, call that number while the show's on, and just hit listen live. You'll be able to hear the show.
Going to have a citizen panel?
No, but I might have you guys.
Smart.
I might have you guys call individually, but watch your language.
Every mic is a live mic.
Let me see here. I have a list of all the. I have a list of the over 50 stations that he's on live. And most of them, you know, like Twin Falls and where is it here?
Cocked Eyebrow, Nebraska.
Yeah. The 3 stations in Salt Lake City. I don't know why. Las Vegas, Roanoke, Lynchburg. Where did you ask?
How about
Texas?
those Mormons?
I don't see any in Texas here. Topeka, Palm Springs, Anchorage, Sioux City, Elmira, Bend, Oregon. Also, I heard he's on in Guam, and it's on at 3 o'clock in the afternoon in Guam.
Wow.
But I don't see
doing afternoon drive.
I don't see anything here in Texas.
I'll do something about that.
Well, I'm just doing one show. You know, you don't.
I've still got some friends in the business.
Yeah.
Get Walter and you on.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I didn't want to do it. I turned him down initially.
And why did you not want to do it? You're always complaining about you want to do things, and now you got a chance.
To begin with, he doesn't do the same kind of show I do. And
he does a good show.
He does he does a much softer show than I do. It's meant to be more of a kind of a end of the weekend show. Yeah. Okay, and I'm a little on the rougher edge, so I didn't want to do it from that standpoint. But he said, just be Alex Bennett, do whatever you want to do, talk about whatever you want to talk about, and so. Finally, he said, look, he said, he says, when I pass, well, he stays here occasionally. He says, when I pass by your studio and you're doing the show and I hear you, I'm hearing the best broadcaster in America. He said, he said, just do that.
Well, I'll argue that whether.
Well, you can argue. This guy was one of the biggest consultants in the business. You ever hear?
I'm just fritzing with you.
You ever hear of Walter Sabo?
Yes, of course. I'm just screwing with you.
Yeah. So, you know, he flattered me into it, you know. But what do I want to go down to CBS at 10 o'clock at night down on 57th Street where they don't have coffee? And
bring your own.
Yeah, well, they suppose there's a place across the street I can get it. I just, you know, the whole proposition kind of frightened me a bit, you know, because I don't like to look bad, you know. So I'm going to have, the first hour is going to be about aging. I'm going to take a very interesting approach to it. And then I'm going to have my ex-wife on for 15 minutes. And then the next hour, I'm going to do a bunch of other stuff. And that hour, I'm going to have Will Durst on. And, you know, and the last hour will just be nothing but calls. And I'm hoping you guys will kind of help me out, You know.
Oh, sure.
With no four-letter words. No swearing. No swearing.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
You got the 7-second delay?
They have a 20-second delay down there.
Needed for this table.
But you know, stuff I haven't.
I found it on the map.
It's stuff I haven't done in years. You know, like hard breaks at the half hour and the hour. You know, to go to stations across the country, hard breaks. So
after 60 years, I think you'll remember how to do it.
Well, yeah, but you know, what I said to Walter was, by the time 1 o'clock arrives, just about 5 minutes of 1, I will have gotten it all down. You know, and then it's time to say goodbye. So,
can you get there early and get the lay of the land and all that stuff?
I'm going to get there about 8:30, and you know, talk to the people in Philadelphia. You know, I'm just used to walking into a studio and there's my engineer and there's my screener. You know?
Alex, I'm looking at a picture of the inside of the studio.
What studio?
Right, CBS studio on 57th Street.
Yeah, well,
is that the studio he'll be in?
I think so.
He's going to be in janitor's closet 1B.
Okay, well, it's just a little tiny office with. Okay.
That's probably it. Where did you find this?
I went on Google Maps and I put CBS Studio, 57th Street, New York City, and
you could see it?
And then it shows a bunch of pictures, like all kinds of pictures, and there's some little offices that look like, yeah. I mean, it is. I mean, there's some small offices that look like they're broadcast ready, but they don't look horrible.
I'm sure it'll be fine, but the other problem is he said have him show you where the bathroom is, but remember how you got there.
Oh.
He said one night I had a hell of a time finding the studio again.
Take one of those things, the trucker's friend.
No, you know, I was thinking of doing what Hansel and Gretel did and buy cookies and make a little trail.
Hey, you know, you can never leave food around in a studio. You know, the advertising people will eat it.
That's what advertising people said
about that's the difference between radio and television. Because in television, the cameramen, and the audio people, all the technical people eat.
Yeah.
There's a story that I've told this before that Chuck McCann told me about WPIX in New York City, and a guy who used to have a show on Saturday nights where he would have a rotisserie, and he would, during the movie, do you remember the show?
I remember you telling the story.
He would make the food on the rotisserie, and then you know, he'd come back into the movie. See how our lovely rotisserie is making a lovely roast beef, right? And then they would come back 20 minutes more later and look, it's even getting better and it's getting juicy. Look at the juices just falling off on our rotisserie, you know. And he's selling the rotisserie. And then what would happen is when he was through with his last shot there, and the movie still had another 20 minutes to go, but his shot was over with, he just bolted out of the studio and went back to New Jersey. Well, he didn't realize something, that he would take his meat and put it in a refrigerator. So sometimes he'd buy 2 weeks worth of meat at a time. And he'd put one in the refrigerator and cook one on the air. Then the next week he'd take the one from the refrigerator and cook it on the air. But he didn't know that while he was away for the week, they unplugged the refrigerator and threw it in the property room.
It was rancid.
So when he would come back, he saw, oh, the meat is rancid. But nobody will know. This is black and white television. So he puts it on the skewers, and it's, you know, a whole thing with the rotisserie. And look at how the beautiful beef and the juice is running off the beef. And then he, you know, the show's got 20 minutes left to go, but he's through with his shots. He's in his car. He's halfway through the Lincoln Tunnel when he suddenly says to himself, oh
my
God, the crew. Because they will eat anything that's left behind. He pulls back up to the TV station. There's an ambulance outside. And they're hauling people into the ambulance as they're cursing this guy's name. The meat had gone really, really bad. Well, he knew it was bad, but didn't matter, you know. So that's one of the great stories. That, and they had a show they were doing with a dog and some pets, and they were doing, this is for a kid's show, and demonstrations of a beehive. And the dog pushed over the beehive, and the bees went flying up, went into the air condition, you know, the, what do you call it, the
ventilation
system, and down into a control booth where the announcer was about to do the station break. And all of a sudden, his whole booth fills up with bees. Yeah. So, those were the two stories I remember from Chuck. So
that's pretty good.
Anyway, I'm gonna do this thing this weekend, and I want to do a good job of it, but it's not meant to get me a job anywhere or anything like that. But it's the first time I've been on broadcast radio in 5 years. You know, so.
Well, you know, you've been 5 years saying that you wanted to do a broadcast radio show, that's real radio. Now you've got an opportunity.
Yeah.
I think it's great.
Yeah.
It's kind of like Christmas early.
Well, I don't know if it's Christmas, you know. I would rather somebody said,
Hanukkah.
"Hey, we got a show for you to do permanently," then I'd be thrilled, you know. But
yeah,
it's not going to happen.
You can get fill-in work.
It's not going to happen because of my age, and that's part of what I'm going to talk about on the first hour of the show on Sunday.
They can't see you in that studio.
I know.
Sure, you won't get another, shot at something. You keep. I worked with a guy who lied so much about his age that he was old enough to be my father, and by the time he died, he was 6 years younger.
Yeah. Well, I don't lie about my age. I never have. Okay? And that's my curse, because most people in this business lie about their age.
Just say you tell people that you're older than you really are, so you can collect Social Security.
Am I right, Jack? In our business, you lie about your age.
Say you're 95, and they'll be like amazed.
Well, I had somebody once tell me that you should really say you're older than you are, and then they'll say, how good you look for your age.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what happened today? I was on a conference call, and they had us, it was like a one-way thing where they had video, and so they had you type in on the chat thing. They said, well, what did everybody do in the last couple of weeks since the last conference call? And so I said, I had a successful heart surgery, and I didn't die at my desk like I thought I would. So,
yeah.
For those of us that were rooting for you.
Well, Walter does his show from Cleveland, from his house, and his whole studio is in his laundry room.
What's he do during the rinse cycle?
Huh? Yeah, well,
what's he do during the rinse cycle?
He calls it the Walter Sterling Show from the laundry room. He really does it from his laundry room.
So. He launders every show.
He launders every show. Yes. But anyway,
so funny.
We'll see what happens.
So are you going to bring your laundry with you?
No. That's if I went and did the show in Cleveland. Yeah.
Well, you want to make it feel at home for all his listeners, so just bring a clothesline and some clothes hooks and hang a few T-shirts.
Well, when I was a boy in radio, we had studios. I mean, what the fuck with these closets and stuff? What a business.
Ray, can you describe that studio graphically?
I don't know if it's the same one, but it just looked like an office with some equipment in it.
Shovels?
No, it had modern stuff in it. It was just small.
Yeah.
And there was like a dead guy in the corner. It looks like maybe they hadn't been in there in a while.
Right.
But
right.
It's fine.
That was the last guy that filled in for Walter.
There was a tin cup with a wire hooked to another tin cup. Yeah. A mop, yeah.
There's our theme. Thank God it's time for our theme song. Hey, thank you so much, Phil. I'm glad to see that you're healthy. You're a handful, but thank God you're healthy.
Yeah. Well, the drugs will wear off soon.
Yeah. Did they give you drugs, by the way?
I asked for Dilaudid, and they said, "Oh, we're only going to give you Vicodin." I said, "That it binds me up. I don't want Vicodin, and not Vicodin. Yeah, Vicodin.
Yeah. But they didn't give you
Norco.
But they didn't.
Norco.
So what did they give you?
I refused it.
Oh, okay. And there's Ray and Shakespeare. Am I right? Is that Shakespeare?
Yes, right. That's right, young man.
Oh, we have puppets on our show now.
Be or not to
We've
be.
really hit the all-time low now. Puppets on the show. Jeff, welcome back, and Kevin, good to have you on tonight. We'll talk about our jailed president tomorrow night. Anyway, thank you all. Wave goodbye so they can all see you. Yes, goodbye, Shakespeare. Night. Anyway, that's it. I'm going to sneeze again. Boy, I had a little sneezing fit there for a little bit. Jack Bishop is next with a show called The Intersection. You should call him, okay? You should listen to him. And then at 1 o'clock in the morning, we got a very good show on. It's called Connections. It comes out of Florida, and a bunch of people having a lot of fun and talking about all kinds of things and social media and social interaction between people and crap like that. In the meantime, I'll see you again. Damien isn't here tomorrow night, but in his place, starting at 8:30, will be the franchise MC with the arena. He'll take it all the way to 10 o'clock, and then I'll be there. Same time, same station in life, and in the meantime, if you see her, tell her I love her, okay? Good night, everybody.